Good morning and welcome to Rocks Hill's webinar, Everything You Need to Know About Grazia. I'm Alessia Horwich, I am the editorial director, and with my colleague Olivia, we're going to be interviewing Hattie Brett, who is the editor of Grazia. Hi Hattie, how are you?
Hi, I'm really good, thank you. Very nice to be here, starting a new week in this way.
It's the beginning of September. What a strange 6 months it has been. Can you tell me a bit about how it's been for you, how it's been for Grazia, and what is your new normal?
Yeah, I mean, it's been mad and intense and an interesting time, I suppose, an incredibly challenging time, but also super creative, I think, for us at Grazia. And I think in many ways our frequency really helped us because right from the beginning we were able to literally rip everything up and start again, which is exactly what we did in that first week of working from home. So, you know, the big middle of March, which feels like a lifetime ago.
It's so long ago.
Yeah, we decided that we wanted to shoot full medics for an issue dedicated to the NHS heroes and give that issue free to its workers. And that remains our most engaged with cover on social media.
Wow.
Really, I think, set out the stall of what we wanted to do over COVID, which was pivot and really think about, stay close to our readers and see each issue of print as a themed issue almost, dedicated to one of the ways in which our readers' lives have dramatically changed. So, for example, we've covered interiors because we're all at home a lot more, comfort cooking, mental health, which we knew was super important for our audience before, but now more so than ever. Feel good fitness, because we've all been doing Couch to 5K, one on beauty in the age of Zoom, where your laptop is now your mirror, and one dedicated to what is luxury now, which was a nature-themed issue back in May, and we asked Richard Quinn and Erdem to illustrate the covers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was beautiful and still kind of, it's still an issue that makes me really proud, actually.
Yeah.
And that sense of themed issues we were talking about earlier is really working for us. So we'll be continuing. We went fortnightly in May, and so newsstand average issue sales are up 65% versus pre-COVID weekly newsstand sales. Subscriptions are up, and we've started selling single issues online as well, which is a new tactic where people can get the magazine delivered to their door, which is really
right.
So that's been sort of, I suppose, the evolution in print. We are a fully 360-degree operational team, so I also oversee online. And there, I guess it won't be a surprise to hear that we've seen real spikes in content where coronavirus intersects with our readers' lives. So weddings, childcare, DIY home hair dyes, and we've experimented with a lot of new video formats as well for YouTube and Twitter and Instagram. We started a series on IGTV called Grazia Get-Togethers, which is a video interview with someone who can offer practical advice or an escapist experience. So we had Mel C DJing live one Friday night, which was great, but we've also had lots of beauty tutorials and talks from leading skincare and makeup professionals, and that's doing really well.
Is that something that's continuing then going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're doing a minimum of kind of one of those every fortnight, but more if we can. And we're also working really closely with YouTube and with Twitter to develop some new video formats that are designed for those platforms. So we are probably October, realistically now, we're launching a weekly Twitter show, which will be fashion and beauty, but also kind of talking points of the week, if you like. I think that's been one of the biggest learnings for us is when all the bets are off, you can experiment a little bit and you have to try some different things and see what sticks.
So what part of the team is it that's working on all that video content? Is that who's the best person to kind of talk to about ideas for that?
So Jessica Barrett is a good kind of overarching person who looks after video on our team, but equally because, as I said, we are all working across platform, if it's a fashion idea, it's still a good idea to talk to Laura Jordan or Sophie Henderson or Fenella Webb. If it's a beauty idea, Jolie Walker is absolutely your woman. And if it's a sort of news, entertainment, culture idea, Rosamund Dean or Guy Pusey are good people to go to.
I should say now, actually, guys, that all of the contacts for Grazia have been updated on the Rocks Hill database. So if you need any email addresses or anything, you can get them all there. So Hattie, I think what I'm finding is people have pivoted during lockdown. We've done really amazing creative things. And now it's September, it's autumn. And we're thinking, right, what is going to be happening now going forward? How are we going to be approaching what we would have normally done last year, but it's completely different now? So what do you feel like are going to be big themes going forward towards Christmas for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. I think we are still committed to doing some of the issues that we previously would have done over this.
Mm-hmm.
So the high street issue is still going to be in October, but obviously that issue is now through the lens of coronavirus. So how can we get people shopping again? What does the high street look like now? And, you know, how has our women's views towards consumption changed? And I think we have some very clear views on that, because at the beginning of lockdown, we set up a WhatsApp group where we recruited 20 readers through social channels and asked them a daily question about fashion, beauty, their fears, etc. Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, for me, having a focus group quite literally in my phone. Being able to, you know, go.
Was it tempting to ask them more than one question a day?
Yeah, and what's been really nice actually is it's become very organic, and they've started meeting in real life. Now they can socially distance, and they've become friends. And I think they found it a solace to have someone sort of objective and almost outside of their normal life to talk to.
Yeah.
It's become a really rich focus group that we use for editorial and commercial pitches. And we, I think, talk to them about, we're doing a beauty issue, what's really important to you in beauty right now. And again, we're going to do another beauty issue in November, which will be the third one we've done this year, which is more than we would normally do in a year. And I think that's because we've seen that beauty content online is spiking and in the mag. And it's clear that people are, you know, beauty for them, I don't think is just products on the bathroom shelf. It's a sense of identity. And in all of the research we've done, people talk about their missing their morning makeup routine or becoming more invested in a new skincare routine, and they're buying products online in a way that they never had done before, which is a trend that they say they're going to carry on doing. So yeah, big beauty issue in November, but it will obviously be focused around, there'll be a lot of skincare content in there, and haven't planned it yet really, but part of it quite different, won't it? Because what on earth is a Christmas party going to look like? So I think for us, it's about kind of keeping our stakes in the ground. And, you know, we know high street fashion is important. We know luxury is important. So that issue remains in November as well. But also making sure that whenever we approach a story, it feels appropriate for now.
Let's talk quickly about fashion. We were just saying before we went live about shows and whether you're not sure if you're going to Milan in a few weeks. Have you got any sort of skeleton plans of how you're going to approach the shows this year? Or, I mean, sorry, in September, or you just really don't know at the moment?
I mean, we don't know whether we're going. Milan seems at the moment to be going ahead, and certainly brands are planning to have shows with live audiences. And if that's the case, then myself and or Kenya, who would normally come with me, will be there for sure. And the same in Paris, because I think it's, you know, important that we can report on what will be a sort of seismic historic season.
Exactly,
and also, you know, show support. I think we're in an ecosystem, and it's really important right now that we all carry on supporting each other through that. So we'll definitely be there if we can, if quarantine allows it, and if there are live audiences. And in terms of coverage, I think we are probably going to do slightly more of a roundup of the show season in its entirety rather than drip it week by week, partly because of our frequency change and partly because I think, as I said, this is sort of one of those seasons where you almost need to get to the end and work out what the
to reflect upon it. And
I think a reader expects that from us. She expects, you know, the same sort of smart analysis and thought about a piece of content around Meghan Markle or fashion shows or, you know, the new Zara spotty dress or Black Lives Matter. You know, everything she expects us to be thoughtful and nuanced and smart about how we report on it.
Of course, that's a great link. Let's talk about your reader. So can you tell us, you've told us what she expects from you guys. Who is she? Do you know much about her?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the kind of editor that is quite obsessed with research. And whilst I think you have to follow your editorial instinct. You have to understand who it is that you're trying to talk to. So yes, we know quite a lot about her. I mean, she, in short, is a largely urban ABC1 woman who is smart, savvy, switched on, but she's also, I think, feeling the pressure. So she looks to Grazia to help her make clever purchases, to give her advice and inspiration, to help her make sense of the world and to feel understood.
Yeah.
She's fashion and beauty obsessed, and lockdown has definitely made her more of a mindful, conscious consumer, I think. But as I said before, she still wants to know what the latest trends are, and she still sees fashion as part of her identity. And they talked on the WhatsApp group about coming out outfits, you know, the things that they were going to wear for their first forays into the normal world. And I think that kind of language was really interesting around, as I said, it's not just a shirt hanging in your wardrobe, it's part of you.
Yeah.
She's a careerist, her job is super important to her, but she also wants to be a good friend and a partner or a parent if she is one. So those are subject areas that she's very interested in, and we try and tap into in features. She cares about the world. She's more engaged in politics than she's ever been before, but she can sometimes feel disillusioned and demoralized about what's going on. So she wants Grazia to stand up for her and for her rights, but she also, I think, wants to engage with brands who are giving back and who use their platform for good and share values.
Wow. Gosh, it's so detailed. I was wondering actually, because I read this fortnight's issue, and you had a spread on children's clothes, which I was really surprised about, because I didn't really realize that you were targeting parents as well at that time. It seems like, as I've grown up, the Grazia audience has grown up as well, which makes sense, I think.
Yeah, and I think that we're doing a lot more parenting content than we perhaps did a few years ago. Partly that's because our audience, as you say, is growing up and having kids. Partly it's because, again, in lockdown, we saw some of the pieces that we did specifically online went crazy and got loads of traffic, especially around the sort of emotional side of parenting, I think. At what's been a very difficult time for all parents, but working parents especially, I think. So that's an area that we're really interested in and looking for more pictures around.
Brilliant. Okay, well, let's start talking through the sections. But before we do, can we just ask the golden ticket question at the moment is for the Christmas gift guide? Who is in charge of that?
So Sophie Henderson is looking after it from a print perspective, and Jolie Walker, that's the fashion one, and Jolie Walker's looking after it from a beauty perspective. And I would also include Rebecca Holman, because she is our digital director and is making sure that we have a comprehensive guide online that ties into the content we're doing in print. There is an email address that I really should have for you, and go into my Teams now, but I won't.
Olivia, have we got it in our Christmas gift guide?
We haven't got this this new one, but
oh, right.
this sounds like gold dust. I'm eagerly awaiting it. But no, we have got Sophie and Jolie already on our gift guide contact sheet.
Okay,
guys, we'll get that off Hattie.
Yeah.
After the webinar, and we can put it out. We shall, yes, and then you'll be inundated. You're welcome. Right, let's start talking through the mag. Can you talk me through it, Hattie? Tell me, start with the news section and the 10 hot stories. This is a really important bit of magazine publishing. I love it. But how do you get in it? Who commissions it? How does it work?
So 10 Hot is a mixture of people. Again, the fashion stories are pitched to me by Laura Jordan and Kenya Hunt, the beauty stories by Jolie, the feature stories by Charlotte Williamson, who oversees all of features, and the news stories by Guy Pusey. The most important thing for 10 Hot is that it must have a news hook. So I will often say to the team, why is this in 10 Hot, not in the back of the book? So it has to be rooted in the week. So only pitch stuff for that section that's launching that week or that's in response to a news story of the day. So 10 Hot is very much the last section that we put to bed. It's the thing after this that I will go into a conversation with my team about, and we will normally at the start of the week have probably a bigger news conference on normally a Monday where everyone pitches their ideas, and we come up with a list of probably about 6, and then 4 of them will change or will add to throughout the week. And we go to press on a Thursday and a Friday. So pretty much by Thursday night, 10 Hot is decided and set in stone, if that makes sense.
Okay, so if PRs are pitching for 10 Hot, they need to, if something is coming up the following week, how far in advance do they need to pitch it? Do you need 2 weeks notice? Because your production cycle's 2 weeks now, I guess.
So actually for 10 Hot, it can be that day. So I would say that's the section where if you have a breaking news story, so if you've just commissioned a survey and there's going to be results that land on a certain day, that's the section to pitch for, because it's stuff that's very responsive. And we start commissioning 10 Hot on the Monday before the issue is on sale the following Tuesday.
Right, okay.
So we are currently going into live production for the issue on sale the 8th of September. And I probably have, because it's been back holiday, I have two 10 Hot stories secured, and the rest of them are up for grabs.
Right. So is there anything that a PR can put in a pitch for a 10 Hot to sweeten the deal to make it more likely to get in? I mean, do you need images for it, or expert comment or anything like that?
Yeah, I would say imagery is important, but it's not a deal breaker, because often we will either shoot our own imagery or find a news image, especially for 10 Hot, that helps deliver that. Although for fashion, I think it always helps if there are images of other people, of people wearing the product that you're talking about, or wearing the trend you're talking about, or a really brilliant new lifestyle image. Expert opinion, absolutely. I would say, think of 10 Hot when you log on to the Times or the Telegraph or the Guardian or the BBC or the Daily Mail, whichever site you look at. We're also doing the same. And if you have someone that can comment on a big story that's trending of the day, definitely that's the place to get in touch for. And if it didn't work for 10 Hot, that would also work for digital, because we also do 10 to 12 stories online a day that are separate from print
content. Right. Somebody's just asked on the chat, can hotel launches be included in 10 Hot?
So I suppose they could be, but there would have to be the
biggest hotel ever.
There'd have to be a real reason why this hotel deserved a 10 Hot story. Because if you think about the mix of 10 Hot, it's normally 3 fashion stories, a beauty story if it's a really great newsy beauty story, 3 features, 3 news. So to be a hotel launch, you've got to be telling me something really interesting and innovative about that hotel launch. And also, this is what I also say, like, why is it right for Grazia? Why does it appeal to that reader that I just described? What makes it something that she needs to know about and in her life? That being said, hotel launches, absolutely. Pitch them to Rachel Lewis, who's our lifestyle editor and looks after the back of book section, because, our reader is interested in travel and she wants to get away. But again, what I would say right now is, don't pitch me a hotel in Portugal that's just opening, because my reader is feeling quite nervous and insecure.
Yeah.
About it earlier. Pitch me right now as a brilliant new hotel that's just launched in the UK, or something that's great to take your kids, or a place that you can go and take your laptop and work from a cottage in Norfolk, or wherever it is. So think about, does your story work for the environment that our reader is in right now?
I was thinking about products in 10 Hot, and obviously just sending a product over is not going to cut it. But if there's a good story, you've got obviously Daisy, I've forgotten her surname.
Edward Jones.
Yes, she's doing this, modeling for a new label, and there's lots of product in that. But obviously, it's more a story about her. Is that the kind of way you would feature products always, or is there another way that you could do it?
No, so that's a good example of, that's a genuine exclusive to that brand. You haven't mentioned it, so I won't. Came
sorry.
With exclusive new imagery and exclusive, we were able to announce that she's the face of that brand. So that to me is a classic 10 Hot story, because we're breaking news, we've got exclusive imagery, and she's a person that our readers are very interested in right now and want to know from. that being said, absolutely pitch if there's a new product. So we did something on a green dress from another brand that I won't mention, that had a waiting list of, I can't remember how many, but like 3,000 people since it had launched on Instagram, let's say. If there's a real product that's being buzzed about that there's a waiting list for, or it's a new collaboration with someone and we can break the news or talk about some hype around that product, then that's 10 Hot is a good place for that product. Otherwise, it's probably a good idea to go to Laura Jordan or Natalie Hammond, who write the stories in 10 Hot, and say, is there anything that you're working on I can help with? So this week, for example, in 10 Hot, we're doing a big back to school, it's September, gosh, we all need to like slightly work out what we wear in the real world. Now that will be a wide variety of product, and normally Sophie Henderson will look after the product for those stories, but they're ideas that come from us, and then we go and find product that matches, as it were. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. For your picks at the beginning, in the what's new, how do people get things in front of you for that? Well, how do you select that? Is it just sort of things that come up as and when?
Yeah, so that's a relatively newish page that we introduced in lockdown, and I think what we like about that and what we'll be continuing is it's a mixture of sort of fashion, beauty, lifestyle, interiors. Interiors is huge for our audience at the moment. I would say that's designed to be very personal, that page. So it's a connection with individual editors. And, we talked a little bit before this. We are not going back to the office until the new year. But I think I'm certainly beginning to have face-to-face meetings with people, and my team are as well. Now, I'm very much leaving that to their individual discretion because everyone has different circumstances, but I think people are beginning to realise that if we're not going to go back to the office, that doesn't mean that we can't meet PRs externally in different places. And so, definitely meetings are now happening, and I think we've all discovered the virtue of online pitches and conversations like this, which actually work really well and are, and I sort of hate myself for saying this, but are quite time efficient. And actually, there are a lot of my team that probably are doing more FaceTime, as it were, with PRs than they would have done previously, because they actually have more time in their day because they're not traveling in and out. So I would say don't be afraid to kind of get in touch and ask one of my team to do a virtual meeting and or now on a real life meeting.
Great. Let's get on to features. What makes a perfect feature for Grazia?
So I think you asked originally about things you only know if, and I think that is a regular slot in features. So that's a reliable place to get a feature, to pitch a feature for. It's in every week. And I think that works best when it's a great writer with a story that our reader will really relate to. So most of the time they need to be able to be identified, which is important. And it's obviously first person, so they kind of need to be up for delving into the emotional side of what they're writing about. So for that slot, and features especially, I would think about new book releases. They can work really well for us, especially if the author has a unique personal take or opinion. And it is really important as well, I think. We have a slot called The Take, which is sort of pretty much every issue, which is an opinion on something that's going on in the world or culturally. So I would say emotional writing, relatable, so something that you can empathize with, makes you feel understood, that you can nod along with, or opinionated, something that you'll either agree with or really disagree with and gets you riled up. And we still get a lot of reader letters, which sort of, in a way, I find quite funny. But on the other hand, I think it's amazing, and it's a real indictment of the power of print, that they can read something in print and they literally open their laptop and type us an email about something. And those are the best features, when it really taps into the nerve of what the reader's feeling or worrying about or thinking about or obsessing about or laughing about or worrying about. So again, think about the reader. Why is this right for our woman? how is this feature going to help her, inspire her, introduce her to something new, give her help or inspiration or advice.
Yeah. Who, I assume that because it's a big theme at the moment, you're interested in eco issues and veganism and you know, that kind of trend. Well, it's no longer a trend, is it? It's just something that's generally happening. Would you do stories on that?
Yeah, we absolutely would. And I think the other section that's a good one to think about is life skills at the back of the magazine. So that's a double page spread that was kind of designed to, like, I think our reader wants to master her life and she wants us to help her sort of thrive, not just survive. And so we introduced a kind of series of mini columns on life admin, on money, on parenting, on activism, on being green. So I think things that are very useful, practical, expert advice, that's a place to think about pitching for that. And that was Charlotte Williamson.
Charlotte Williamson. Okay, so life skills at Charlotte Williamson. And what about you? Things you only know if.
So that I would also pitch to Charlotte.
Okay.
And Rhiannon Evans on our features desk is also a brilliant person. She's our features director, and so she straddles. I mean, Charlotte does online and print as well, but at the moment it's sort of Charlotte is a bit more focused on print, and Rhiannon has visibility of both of them. So they're both good people on features.
And do you only cover women in the features, or would you be open to profiling a man?
Yeah, no, we have definitely interviewed and featured men. Matt Haig wrote something for us a few weeks ago. We interviewed Idris Elba. So yeah, we're open to men, but again, I think it would have to have a reason as to why it was in Grazia.
And does it need to be rooted in a sort of not feminist issue, but a women's issue, or you know, does it need a link to sort of that? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it needs to be topical, and I think Grazia's newsiness is kind of what gives it its lifeblood. So again, it has to have a reason as to why we're running it now. That being said, there are certain men I think that our women's always going to be obsessed with and interested in hearing from. So if it's a great profile or if it's more of a features-led piece, I think it doesn't have to be feminist, but I think it has to be a man writing something that a woman would also be interested in. But that could be about the state of men. You know, Matt Raj, for example, is doing something for us. He's just
about his new book.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that's interesting, isn't it, to get an insight into how men are feeling right now.
Yeah, definitely. Really interesting. Okay, brilliant. So I think we've sort of covered off features and we've talked a lot about fashion already. Do you feel there's anything that we need to, I think you've said quite a lot about what your plans are for going forward and things and who to contact, etc. Can we talk a bit about beauty? I was really interested by the beauty feature that you had in this week. How are you approaching beauty at the moment? You were talking before about how it's more about a whole 360 outlook on it. It's not just about products, but are you still doing lots of product pages? What do you want for pictures? Tell me about it.
So we're still doing product, absolutely, because I think, you know, our reader is still buying a lot, like probably more beauty product than she is fashion right now. So yes, for the beauty opener, for example, that needs to be a new product. It needs to be something you can shoot in a beautiful way and something, again, with talkability in the beauty industry. Jolie oversees that page. For features, so yeah, product, absolutely. And we're still really interested in kind of that new buzzed about product and why, again, that could go in 10 hot. You know, I don't think we probably do enough of that actually, but the new, so we did something a few weeks ago on like the new £15 acupuncture wellness patch that an acupuncturist had launched. Which for me was like a great story for now because it's accessible with its price point. It taps into wellness and health, which I think within beauty is now a big area of importance.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it, because lots of people are asking about health and wellness coverage, is the beauty section where it's at?
Yeah, so I mean, sometimes those features would go front of book, so they'd go in features, but definitely Jolie is the best person to pitch for that. And also Rosamond Dean, so Rosamond Dean's my deputy, but she has great visibility across the book. So she's a good person to pitch health to, because she can then decide if it goes in beauty or if it goes in features. but yeah, I'm really interested in kind of health and wellness and fitness right now. The issue that we did on Feel Good Fitness did really well. And that is, I think, indicative for me that our audience are perhaps embracing it in a way that maybe they had not done previously. So yeah, so a mixture of that. And, you know, I think the other thing to say about beauty is that our women, and we did some research a while ago now, but I still think it sticks, that while she's absolutely obsessed with product and she's quite literate about vitamin C and the difference between retinol and hydrochloric acid, equally, she is probably not as confident about applying her makeup as you might think that she is. I think she's slightly she still feels a little bit insecure about that. So that's why we launched something called the Beauty School, which is where Jolie kind of takes you through one of those things that you sort of feel like, oh, I should really know how to do this, but I kind of have never really mastered the smoky eye or whatever it is. So I think don't necessarily think that she's beyond that too. Some sort of really great, brilliant expert that you've got who can talk about how to faux tan in a grown-up way, I think is also still welcome. And again, you know, think about that from a video perspective, because whilst we do a lot of pages in beauty in the mag and more than anyone else across a month, equally though that video content is really rooted in beauty at the moment and is doing really well for us. So think about people that you've got that could run videos.
So is Jolly actively looking for pitches for that new slot and also video? Are you guys really needing them at the moment, needing ideas and things?
I think we know that those get-togethers are really working. So
yeah,
the ones that have worked brilliantly tend to be beauty rooted. So, and we've also done a kind of new how to at home series, which is sort of how to thread eyebrows, how to do a manicure. So again, kind of thinking about our readers' lives, how her attitudes towards beauty is changing. But equally, you know, we didn't do this, but I felt like we should have done. You know, what's it like to go to a spa right now? If you're a spa who is up for doing video and has a good face for it, like a good external person that's good at presenting on camera, who could talk us through 10 things that happen when you come to have a manicure. That sort of stuff is, I think, really interesting for our audience right now.
Yeah. Okay, let's just skip right to the back. So it's the culture and interiors and books and things like that. Who is best to talk to you for that? And what kind of things are you looking for now?
Yeah, so Rachel Lewis is our is our lifestyle editor. And I would say if the 10 Hot section is about reflecting the week that's just been, our section at the back, our lifestyle section, is about how do we help our readers shape her week to come with inspirational and useful content across travel, food and interiors. So again, when you're pitching for this, I think I've said this a number of times, but think about how it ties into our readers' lives right now. So we've just done a recipe special about how to create quick and easy lunches at home to break up the monotony of like working from home meals, which I'm not sure about you, but for me is literally like cooking up or something.
I've had the same lunch every single day.
Do you? Yeah. Hattie, how does it work with recipes? I noticed that most of them had little plugs at the bottom from cookery books, but how do you select them? How can people pitch them? Should they pitch them thematically, that like you were saying?
So I pitched them to Rachel Lewis. Most of them are from books. So again, a new book, but equally it doesn't have to be a new book. If it's an old book that suddenly is relevant for now, and we've had quite a lot of book publishers, I think, that have been very smart over this period and going back over their back catalogue and thinking about, you know, people, experts that they've got that would have written a book about mental health and resilience 5 years ago that suddenly becomes very pertinent now. So again, you know, we did a lot on picnics. I mean, who would have thought? And sometimes it goes through your mind when you read a proof and it says, you know, now we're allowed to go out a little bit more. We can all have picnics, and you think, oh wow, what sort of world are we in now? But think about that. You know, what are we going to do? Like, what is Christmas party food? Like, how are we going to socialize? We haven't answered any of those questions, but I know we'll do a big entertaining special at Christmas. But what will that look like? And if you've got a good expert or a series of recipes that you can spin in a COVID friendly way, then we're all ears, because as I said, we haven't really thought about that yet. Well, maybe Rachel has, to be fair. She might.
Yeah, it's not. We're getting lots of interiors questions. Obviously, you've done loads already. Is that going to continue, and in what sort of form?
Absolutely. So we did an interiors cover with Laura Jackson, and we just did the issue before last, I think, a big sort of 12-page interior special in that lifestyle section, and we will do another one of them around Christmas. And we are doing, I just said my connection's been restored. Did I drop out?
I think you're right.
I can see you.
Yeah.
And we are doing interiors in every issue now, because again, we know that our readers have always been interested in interiors, but they are now treating their house as an extension of their own style. I would say for that, it needs to be aspirational, but also accessible. So if you have a client with a great house, for example, that's always quite good. That might give readers ideas to try. Or if you have an interiors brand with a really interesting backstory, I think interiors especially is where our audience are looking for something slightly more unique that feels individual to them. Or again, if you've got experts who can talk about, we've just done a big partnership with, again, okay, I feel like I'm not mentioning any brands, with a retailer that's about answering some of those questions, like what should every household have in their DIY kit, or how do you actually frame a gallery wall in the nursery and it looks like the ones you see on Pinterest. So, you know, again, some of those kind of more useful, practical expert advice, I think, are always good things to pitch.
Brilliant. We haven't got much time left. I think I'm going to have to go to Olivia to do all of the questions. Go for it, Olivia.
Hi. So we've had a lot of questions about travel. What is your stance on travel at the moment? Are you guys traveling, and are staycation stories still of interest? I think I saw was asked.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tricky, is the answer. We had a big international travel story planned for, I think it was the issue that's on sale now, and we pulled that because it didn't feel like the right time to run that. Now we will run that at some point, but yeah, for now we're focusing, I think, on UK travel whilst the situation is so volatile. But, you know, that's not to say that towards December and definitely January, I think we will do a big kind of now's the time to dream, even if it's not going to happen for a while.
Yeah.
Places that you should have on your list to go to. Because I think people still want that escapism.
Definitely.
Know what's out there. But from now until the end of the year, I would focus on pitching staycation properties. And you know, there's a real value in that. I've put that on the cover twice, for example, because I think readers really want to know how to book somewhere. And we have a story online, the best Airbnbs, that we've aggregated from Airbnb. And that is consistently one of our top search stories and our best for affiliate revenue. So we're
Who is it that covers travel, Hattie?
So on the cover I've put I think we did something on the best.
Oh no, sorry, I mean, who is the right person to contact?
Rachel.
Rachel.
Yeah, for travel.
And does she do online? Well, we're supposed to talk about online really quickly. Are you who is the best contact for online? You know, is it the online editor, or do you do specific people for each department?
So
I mean, yeah, you go, sorry.
I think it's definitely still department head. So Jolie's in charge of all the beauty content. Kenya ultimately has responsibility for all the fashion content, but there are probably individual. Hannah Banks Walker is a good person, for example, on fashion, because she's in the nuts and bolts of the analytics on digital. Lillian, our digital assistant, is also a good person for travel, because whilst Rachel does contribute to online, Lillian can also flag stuff with her that she thinks will do well online. So we work quite closely together.
And in terms of lead times for online, sorry, Olivia, how much notice do people need to be giving when they're pitching, or, you know, are you flexible about that really?
Yeah, we're really flexible. I mean, with digital, we have a weekly flat plan, so we have a sense probably a week in advance of the type of content we're going to do. But equally, you know, things chop and change online all the time, and we are very responsive. We have daily news conference every day at 10. So I would say between 10 and 11, don't expect to be able to get in touch with anyone, but equally pre-10 o'clock is a good time to pitch a story that you think has relevance for that day, because we all go into a meeting at 10 and heads of department talk about their stories.
Brilliant. Sorry, Olivia, go.
Don't worry. You have mentioned special issues quite a lot. Do you have a set calendar throughout the year of special issues, and if so, are we able to go through them? I know this year's slightly different, but have you got special issues coming up that we can let the others know about?
We have. I mean, I have not got my forward planner open, but if you bear with me, I can do that. I can tell you that in October, it's the High Street issue, which I think I talked about.
And is it a PR still able to pitch for that now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd say we're starting to, in earnest, think about the High Street issue. So the big fashion issue is on sale the 22nd of September, but that's pretty much, with the exception of 10 Hot, that's pretty much done. High Street is the 20th of October. Luxury is the 3rd of November, and we'll do luxury gifting in that. And again, luxury doesn't have to mean just fashion, you know, that could be interiors or travel as well is a good place for that.
Do you cover technology as well within that, Hassie?
Do you know what? I saw that question about technology.
Yeah.
And it's a good one because it's something that we kind of keep coming back to and think, why don't we do that? Especially in this day and age when we're all our own tech support, aren't we? So we don't do very much of it at the moment, but it's something we're looking at how we can introduce across both print and digital. So I'm interested in ideas for that, for sure. The beauty issue is the 17th of November. The 1st of December will be a party issue, but in what iteration party is, we'll find out. And the 15th is the sort of, traditionally our kind of review of the year, but obviously this year, been an interesting year.
I think everyone will just celebrate getting to the end in one piece.
Yeah. I think it will be more about reflection and what has this year meant to us. And then the 29th of December is wellness and health. So those are sort of the themes that are set already.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's super useful. Would you say you champion kind of small British brands and designers? We've had one in particular about independent jewelry makers. And
I think increasingly that's what our audience want. They've always, I think, come to Grazia for the knits, and that's what we've always been good at, I think. When we first launched, I think there was a little bit of surprise that we might put Zara next to Prada. And now, obviously, that's the way that a modern woman dresses. And I think now the element is we also feature vintage product and rented product. I think that's also an interesting thing that we're all beginning to credit as if it's normal. So I think we're going to do that. And definitely like small independent brands who have a good backstory. So again, Sophie Henderson is probably the best person to contact for that, because she is the person who will do those shopping specials in the fashion section. And she probably once every 6 weeks does a kind of new independent brands to watch type piece, but also can pepper them through. And she could also tell you, when the jewelry special is going to be, for example.
Great.
So you kind of missed that, but there'll be another one.
Which also brings me on to, are you interested in local stories about? So Eleanor, has asked about new launches in certain neighbourhoods, boutique hospitality, and salons.
I think that's probably not one for us, because
perfect.
And the same extension with London. We get pitched a lot of stuff that's London only, and we have a lot of readers outside of London, so we have to make sure it's accessible.
Yeah.
Great.
Louisa Claxos is a really good one, actually, Olivia. Is there anything you're tired of hearing about? Is there anything that's oversaturated at the moment?
It's a good question. I think it's a difficult one for Grazia, because that was one of your questions too, Alicia, wasn't it? What do we not want to hear about? And I think one of the kind of beauties of Grazia and that I love is that nothing is off the table really, and we go in our news conference from talking about, you know, the silly to the most serious to fashion to beauty. And I think as long as there's a reason why we should be talking about it at that moment, nothing's off the table. That being said, and again, I've sort of said this before, but being pitched stuff that feels totally not right for now, I think is one of the things that is going to make me delete an email the quickest right now. So we have had, for example, in travel, quite a lot of like, there's a new hotel launching in Turkey, which, you know, for us just isn't relevant right now.
Mm-hmm. Olivia, do you want to do one more?
Yes. It's further up the line, and I don't know who asked it, sorry, but restaurant reviews at the moment, is that a big thing for you?
No, we've never really done restaurant reviews. The only place that would go is in the opener of the back section. So it's time to, and
Brilliant.
we have a kind of, that's a really good place for new books or a new podcast or a new restaurant that's open. But it wouldn't be a review, it's just a recommendation. And Guy Pusey oversees that page.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Hattie. Olivia, would you just do our social plug really quickly?
Yes. So do follow us on all social media channels. We're at Rox Hill Media. You will find out about our latest webinars, events, newsletters, basically everything you need to know. So do give us a follow, and we will be announcing later today our next webinar in 2 weeks' time.
And Hattie, Grazia's social channels are?
Grazia UK. So yeah, it'd be great for people to follow us there and get a sense of the kind of content we're in. And I'm so sorry, I'm scrolling through the chat. There are so many messages that we haven't had time to answer.
Apologies, guys.
You know,
we hope that we've given you lots of valuable information. Hattie, thank you so much for your time. It's been fantastic to talk to you. Thanks, guys. See you all very soon.